Hello friends, welcome back to your UPSC. Today in Geography of India, we are going to start with a new topic, that is droughts in India. So let's get started. Drought. Drought, in simple term, it is a temporary reduction in water or moisture availability significantly below the normal or expected amount of for sufficient period. Okay, so for a sufficient period, when we have expected amount, see if it is x centimeter of rainfall is expected in a certain amount of period, when the rainfall is sufficiently less or below this normal value, this average value, then the condition or the reduction of moisture is known as drought. Okay, so it is simply a lack in water or moisture to satisfy the normal need for agriculture, livestock, industry, or human population. Okay, now let us look at the causes of drought. See, drought is caused by, first of all, insufficient rainfall. That is, the amount which we expect from a specific period, the amount of rainfall which we expect from a specific period, if the rainfall is less than the expected one, it is considered drought type of conditions. Okay, next is if the monsoon is on time but it suddenly takes a break. Okay, so timely onset and sudden break, it will also cause drought conditions. Next is early withdrawal. Now, because of early withdrawal, the amount of rainfall that we should get, we have less amount of rainfall than the average rainfall. Okay, so because of that, drought conditions are taking place. Lastly, we have sufficient amount of rainfall, but with a wide gap separating two wet spells. Now it is same like this one, but the difference is we have breaks in between two wet spells. Okay, so this is wide amount of gap between two wet spells, but we have sufficient amount of rainfall. But the amount of rainfall is not what is required in drought. Okay, it is effectiveness of rainfall that is required. Okay, now after the causes of rainfall or causes of drought, we will look into the types of drought. Okay, now drought are basically of seven types. First of all, we have meteorological drought. So meteorological drought is actually reduction in the rainfall for a specific period of time below a specific amount. Okay, so when the rainfall is below average for a specific period of time, then this type of drought is considered as meteorological drought. Okay, and by the specific period we mean either days or weeks or months. Okay, so it may take a whole season or a whole year or a day. So when we have reduction or reduced amount of rainfall for a specific period, then it is considered as meteorological drought. Now Indian Meteorological Department, they have classified drought, or they have defined drought as a situation of occurrence of rainfall in any area when the mean annual rainfall is less than 75% of the normal rainfall. Okay, so when the rainfall that occurred in a specific area, okay, the rainfall in that period, it is less than the mean average amount of rainfall, 75% less than the mean average amount of rainfall that that area gets during this period of time. Okay, so that situation is considered as drought. Now IMD, that is Indian Meteorological Department, they have classified drought into two broad categories. First one is severe drought, when the rainfall is mean annual rainfall is less than 70 sorry 50% of the mean annual rainfall. Okay, so the deficiency in rainfall, it exceeds 50% of the normal rainfall. And when the deficiency of rainfall is between 25 to 50% of the normal rainfall, it is considered as moderate drought. Okay, so we have severe drought and then we have moderate drought. Okay, next we have hydrological drought. Hydrological drought is basically associated with the reduction in water. Okay, so meteorological drought, they are often led by hydrological drought, and it is said that it generally two successive meteorological drought takes place before having a hydrological drought. Okay, now there are two type of hydrological drought. First one is surface water drought, next is groundwater drought. Okay, now surface water drought, it is considered with drying up of surface water resources. Okay, so the surface water resources like we have rivers, we have lakes, ponds, reservoirs, tanks, they dry up. Okay, and because they dry up, the surface water resources, they are all dried up, and there is large scale desertification. Okay, and this situation is known as surface water drought. Okay, then next is groundwater drought. Groundwater drought is basically associated with fall in the groundwater level. Okay, and it happens because of excessive pumping of groundwater without compensatory replenishment. Okay, so because of this we have irreversible reduction in groundwater level for a specific period of time. So this is known as groundwater drought. Next we have agricultural drought. Agricultural drought, it is concerned with the impact of meteorological and hydrological drought on the crop yield. Okay, so when the soil moisture and rainfall conditions are not adequate enough to support the healthy crop growth to maturity, they cause extreme moisture stress and wilting of major crop. Okay, and this leads to the situation that is known as agricultural drought. Okay, so this situation, it is not exactly due to rainfall, the amount of rainfall, but it is due to effectiveness of rainfall. Okay, now we see this condition is actually relative. Okay, so if we have crop like a situation in which rice cannot be grown. Okay, because rice, it requires more of water. Okay, so the situation in which rice cannot be grown, so this situation will be agricultural drought for rice crop. But in that specific area at that point of time only, the wheat can be grown, so the conditions are normal for the growth of wheat. Okay, so this is about the amount of water required for a crop to grow. When the amount of water required is not sufficient enough, then it is known as agricultural drought. Okay, so if the farmers, they choose crops according to the climatic conditions or the soil moisture, then the in various circumstances, the conditions of agricultural drought can be escaped. But during severe conditions, when the soil water or soil moisture, it falls down very low. Okay, so the soil moisture, it is exhausted, and the water resources, they are also exhausted. Then during this time, when no plant can survive, this condition is known as desertification, and this is the severe agricultural drought. Okay, so during severe agricultural drought, we have desertification. Then next we have soil moisture drought. Soil moisture drought, it is the situation of inadequate soil moisture in rain fed area. Okay, So in rain-fed area, when we have inadequate soil moisture, which cannot support the crop growth, then this situation is known as soil moisture drought. Okay, and it is caused by water supply when the water supply to the soil is less. So when we have less water supply to the soil, then it causes soil moisture drought. Okay, and next situation is when we have more of evaporation in the soil, then less of replenishment. Okay, so if the replenishment is less but evaporation is more, okay, precipitation is less and evaporation is more, then what happens? Soil moisture drought conditions are caused. Okay, then fifth is socioeconomic drought. Socioeconomic drought is actually reduction of availability of food and income loss on the account of crop failure. Okay, so we have reduction in food availability, okay, because we have less of these food crops that are grown, and then we have crop failure because loss of income on the account of crop failure. Okay, and because of this we have endangerment of food and social security of the people in the affected area. Okay, then sixth one is famine. Famine occurs when the large scale collapse of access to food occurs and which leads to mass starvation. Okay, so when we have large scale collapse in access to food that occurs, which is leading to starvation of many people. Okay, mass starvation, which can lead, if it is it can be leading to or it can lead to mass starvation, then this sort of condition is known as famine. Lastly, we have ecological drought. Ecological drought is basically it takes place when the productivity of natural ecosystem falls significantly as a consequence of distress induced by environmental damage. Okay, so ecological drought is basically when our natural ecosystem, the natural rate of productivity of our ecosystem, it falls. It significantly falls because of distress induced in environmental distress induced environmental damage. Okay, so because of distress induced environmental damage, we have loss in ecosystem productivity. Okay, so this is ecological drought. So these were the types of droughts. Now we will look into effects of drought. Now, before looking into effect of drought, we will first look into drought prone areas of India. So the areas that are shown with the blue are drought prone areas of India. Drought prone areas are basically defined as one in which the probability of drought years are greater than 20%. Okay, the chronic drought prone areas are the one in which the probability of drought years are greater than 40%, and the drought year when occurs less than 75% of the normal rainfall is received. Okay, so it occurs when the drought year occur when the annual rainfall is less than 75%, and the chronic drought prone areas are where the chances of having drought year is more than 40%. Okay, and normally the drought prone areas are the areas having the chances of drought to occur, the chances are 20%. Okay, greater than 20%. Now in India we have hardcore of reoccurring drought affected 16% of the total areas. Okay, and if we look into total average area, then we have about 10 lakh square kilometer, or about one third of the total land area of the country, that is drought prone. Okay, and the areas which are regularly haunted by drought prone conditions, They are the areas which are receiving low rainfall, okay, that is generally below 75 centimeter annually. And the another areas are very highly unreliable, that is variability is over 40%. Okay, so we have these defined tracts of the drought prone areas. So the first category is the semi-arid, semi-desert region or desert region covering 6 lakh square kilometers. Okay, they form more or less a rectangular line from Ahmedabad to Kanpur on one side and from Kanpur to Jalandhar on the another side. Okay, then next we have the dry region laying in the leeward side of the Western Ghats. Okay, and they are actually having the width of 300 kilometer and they stretch up to eastern coast. Okay, their eastward side they stretch up to eastern coast, that is 100 kilometers away from the eastern coast. Okay, and the area that they cover is 3.7 lakh square kilometers. Okay, now apart from these two major areas we have some smaller areas. So we have some districts, two districts of Tamil Nadu, that is Coimbatore and Nellai Kattabban district of Tamil Nadu. Then we have Saurashtra region and Kutch region. Then we have Jhansi, Lalitpur, Banda, these districts of Uttar Pradesh. Then we have some districts of West Bengal, okay, that is Purulia district of West Bengal, okay. Then we have Palmau Plateau of Jharkhand. Then we have Kalahandi region of Odisha. Then larger part of Uttarakhand and Jammu and Kashmir. In Jammu and Kashmir we have Jammu and Udhampur. So these scattered pockets they account for about 1 lakh square kilometer of area that is drought prone. So these areas are drought prone areas. Now if we look into the effects of drought, so we have three broad categories of impacts of drought. First is our physical impact. So physical impact implies to the geographical condition that are impacted by or affected by this drought condition. First is the soil, it dries up because it loses its moisture due to evaporation. Okay. Next is reduced surface runoff. So the surface runoff, or we can say the ground surface water resources, they deplete gradually. And later on, the groundwater level is also depleted and it lowers down. Now, looking into agricultural impact, first we have lack of irrigation because we have loss of water. Okay, we have less of water. Because of this less amount of water we have lack of irrigation. Okay, and because we have lack of irrigation we have severe shortage of food grain. Okay, because the food grains they require water. Okay, and because we have lack of water then we have severe shortage of food grain and there is drop in agricultural production. Overall agricultural production is dropped. Now looking into socio-economic impact. Socio-economic impact, it covers a vast area. First of all, there is fall in employment in primary sector because primary sector it is basically production, and primary sector in India it basically involves more of agricultural work. Okay, apart from mining and all, more portion of primary sector is acquired by agriculture. Okay, so there is fall in employment. Next we have scarcity of drinking water, food grain and fodder. Okay, so we have scarcity of water, then we have scarcity of food grain and fodders for the kettles. Then because of it we have rise in inflation rate. Okay, so the people they are affected by inflation. Then we have loss of cattle life because we have reduction or scarcity of fodder. Then because of it we have malnutrition, hunger, starvation, and this may ultimately lead to, in very severe condition, it may lead to death. Then we have distressed sales of land, property. Then we have mortgages. Okay. And we have migration of people from the drought affected area to the other sides. Okay. And the migration is basically of the farmers. The farmers, they actually leave their land for the period, drought period, and they move to the cities for some labor, labor work. Okay. Then, because of the fall in employment in primary sector, and the secondary sector and tertiary sector, they are associated with it, we have short down or slow down in secondary and tertiary sector. Now, after we have looked into the effects of drought. Now we will look into the methods for surviving or drought management or surviving in the drought conditions. First of all, water harvesting and water management is the basic thing. Then judicious use of water and construction of dams and water reservoirs. They actually helps in the collection of water, and we can use this water during distress period. Okay. Then next is drought prone area program. Drought prone area program, it was launched or it was initiated in 1974, and this drought prone area program was changed from a relief and employment oriented program into the program that aimed at drought proofing. Okay. Now this drought proofing was done through adaptation of an integrated area development approach which sought to mitigate the impact of future drought by stabilizing both production and employment. Okay. This program, it was considered as a long-term measure for restoration of ecological balance by conserving and developing the harvested land. Okay. And along with the harvested land, it was for conserving and developing the water resources, livestock, and human resources. Now, if you look into basic objective of this DPAP program, it was first to minimize the adverse effect of the drought on the production of crops and livestock and productivity of land, water, and human resources. Then the next objective was to conserve, develop, and harness land, water, and other natural resources, including rainfall, for restoration of ecological balance. Okay. Then next we have establishment of crop weather watch group. Now this crop weather watch group was set up during 1979 drought. Okay. So during the 1979 drought, the Ministry of Agriculture, it it was it set up this watch group. Okay. Now it consists of representative of Department of Agriculture, Indian Meteorological Department, Indian Council of Agriculture Research, and Ministry of Information Broadcasting, and all the others. Now in it, two prolonged strategies were adopted which focused on curative and preventive measures which can escape from the drought conditions. Okay. So they were to provide weekly report of rainfall, agricultural operation, employment, and other activities for the occurrence affected by drought. Okay. Now, because the government had timely report of all these things, there was there was no widespread effect of the drought. Okay. And there was no starvation death were reported after this establishment of watch group. Then lastly, we have integrated water management system. Integrated water management system, it is a preventive measure which plays a key role in moderating drought condition. Okay, it actually ensures planning on the basis of total availability of water resources. So it plans according to the average water which is available in the area. And on this planning, it ensures first the total availability of water resources, then conjugative use of surface and groundwater, allocating priority for rational use of water and also for preparation of coordinated plan. Okay, so this water management system holds a promise of conservation of land and water resource and their optimal utilization in reality. Okay, so in this national watershed program for rainfed area, a large number of watersheds they have been established in different rainfed region of the country. Okay, and because of these, the drought, the severity of droughts, they are brought down. Okay, and the drought is managed. So that was all about drought and its effect. So that was all for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's lecture. Let's meet in our next class. Till then, take care and have a nice day. Thank you.